So, what do we got today? Well, I got the suspension sort of straightened out a bit a couple days ago. And then I had a few minutes today to play around, or yesterday, and I pulled the seat out. Big heavy bugger. Still nice shape. I got it in the house. I don't want to ruin it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's a really, really nice seat. And now I got to figure out how to mount this thing. And I got some brackets, and I just bought some fasteners, and I'm going to pop a couple little holes in it so I can get the brackets mounted and then see where it ends up. I think it's going to have to be higher than the brackets will allow based on where the floor is. And if that's the case, what I'm probably going to do is build some just wood blocks underneath it so that I can kind of just temporarily screw it into the floor and hold it in place where it needs to be, where I want it, height-wise and back and forth. And then I will leave that in there temporarily so that my fabricator can come up with a better way to mount the seat. Because I don't want to go through whacking and clanking and banging all this stuff when he's the pro, and will be much better at making sure this thing is attached where it needs to be and properly. If it doesn't, obviously just mount to those and bolt to the floor. So I think it may not. I think it's going to have to come up even further because this seat is really, really, really low. The other seat is about as thick as the side panel on this seat. And so this is going to have to come quite a ways off the floor, I think, to put me lower than the other seat did, so the helmet clears the roof. So may fiddle around with that a little bit this afternoon. We will see. Another thing, talking about my electrical gremlins. This is a throttle position sensor. It is a Holley, or original, throttle position sensor to my Sniper EFI. And my dad about 6 weeks ago said, "Hey, what if the sensor's bad?" I said, "Nah, can't be, it's brand new." Yeah, so this morning I started the car up and it failed immediately. Did the same thing, went right up to 30. As soon as you touch the throttle, gets stuck. Alright, so I took my spare, which is just a standard TH-191. I think pretty common in the GM world. I had ordered about 35 bucks, nothing major. And I just unplugged the factory one, left it on there, plugged this one in, and set it next to it. Started the car up, and it stayed at 0, and then I moved it with a screwdriver, and it moved and it stayed at 0. I moved and went back to 0, moved and went back to 0. It's perfect. I said, okay, cool, interesting. So it's just 2 Allen bolts. Pulled the original sensor off, the one in my pocket, that is now labeled, and slapped this one on. Plugged it in, fired it up, revved it, right back to 0 every single time. Said, okay, that's interesting, shut it back off. Unplugged it from this sensor, plugged it back into the old one. Started it up, and it immediately went to 1. And then as soon as I used a screwdriver and turned it, it lost its mind. Plugged it back into this one, works perfect. So, all of this, apparently, because I went back through some of my old videos, and I watched, there was a few chances where I could actually see the idle air control functioning, so I knew the throttle position sensor was working properly. It did work at first, but at some point in the first couple of weeks I was playing with it, apparently that thing died, and has been causing me fits ever since. But in any case, it caused me to actually wire everything correctly as you're supposed to and get it ready. So let's get this thing running and we'll see if it sat and cooled off and still works. all that, and it turned out to be the damn sensor. Whew. But at least now we got upgraded charging system. All the wiring is as good as it possibly can be. And it is ready when my distributor comes in to get its full Holley timing system. And I'm not going to worry about it as much. So I'm ecstatic, beyond ecstatic, that it turned out to be a stupid $35 sensor. But man, did that kick my butt. It's one of those things. Electronics fail. And the thing with electronics is they fail quick. Typically, if they don't fail really within the first bit that you're using them, they're going to be good for a long time. So hopefully, I got a little lemon there, and that this one's good. But I'm going to order another one, just throw it in my kit with my spare parts, fuel filters, and what. Battery died. Anyway, where was I? Well, anyway, we're going to, like I said, make sure I have a spare one of those in case that thing starts acting up again. I couldn't be happier that that was seemingly the solution to my electrical gremlin. I have committed zip tie Armageddon, rewiring everything here 16 times, but I am really ecstatic that that has decided to start to work. So, next thing we got, like I said, is to try to get those mounts on this seat and set it in here and see what we're gonna do. And then I have to start pulling the carpeting out and the side panels in the back and probably the rear panel in the back. And I'm thinking, given the way the doors are and this car, because it tapers so much in the front here, he may have to curve the bars. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do, but I have a bad feeling that I'm going to have to get rid of the door cards, or at least modify them so they don't have that kick out where the door pull is anymore. I think that may end up getting in the way of where the door bars end up going. So I'm not sure, hopefully not, but it will be what it is. And then all of the back stuff, hopefully after it's done, I can do some little cutouts, nail everything together, and just kind of slide them over the bars, get it back in there so it looks a little finished. As I'd like it to still look pretty streety inside, except maybe for the seat. But, so, that's what we're going to be fiddling with today. Like I said, I don't know that I'm going to get this permanently mounted, but I want to get it to where at least I can have it set at the height that it needs to be. So, at least when I drop the car off, he'll have a target to shoot at. So, there we go. There it is. That's about how it's going to go. It's going to turn out to be rather difficult for anybody but me to drive this thing after this, because it's only going to be in one spot. It will not be adjustable, and it is what it is. But that's about right. It's actually in a pretty good spot where the original seatbelt would actually fit pretty well. It's got to be lifted up about whatever 2x lumber is, 1.5 inches off the carpet, and then wearing my helmet, it just barely brushes the ceiling. So I think that once I take the carpet out, that's going to be perfect off the floor. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, I am probably just going to mount it, cut some strips off of those 2x6s and just mount it like that, screw it to that, and just have it in there, anchored to the floor easily. You know, whatever is going to leave it in its spot that it needs to be. And then I'll let the fabricator figure out exactly what he needs to do to keep it there. If he needs to build a little thing off the floor, if he's going to do some metal bracing across the frame, I don't know exactly what he'll want to do. Fire extinguisher's sitting on there because the seat's back heavy. It'll roll over backwards just to hold it up. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So, cool. Not much to that. The seat has some really nice padding in it, which is good. I wasn't sure what kind of a seat cover it is, but it probably lifts you up about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch on the padding. So, I mean, over time, it'd probably just be perfect once it got pounded down a little bit from sitting on it. But I think that's going to work really nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. And seating position really isn't too bad. You can basically see over the nose if you're my height. Otherwise, probably have to use pillows or something. A seat insert for smaller drivers. But yeah, I think that's going to work. The mounts are actually going to be just barely narrow enough to fit in the car and miss the trans hump and miss the door. So we'll scoot over there and show you the clearance. Feels like it's basically lined up with the steering wheel. But okay. So we got good clearance back here for the bar, but then when you go through here, it gets real snug. It's probably going to have to curve around a little bit as it goes up to the front because of the way this thing tapers in like that. We will see what has to be done to make that work. But oh, that's kind of cool. It lines, the front of it lines up just about with that seam in the carpet, so that's handy. Ah. That's cool, because I'm probably going to leave that front carpet in, potentially. Take the side panels out over there if I can to facilitate it, but that will at least give us another target to look at too, because it seems like I got it right about in line with that seam. It could even go forward a little bit. It wouldn't hurt my feelings. But that's about where the most headroom is there. So it's gonna be snug. Hopefully he can do what he needs to do. It's gonna be interesting. Another thing I was thinking about is that crankshaft damper I'm going to have to put on, as I mentioned the other day. I am probably going to have to pull the whole front end off of this thing again, because I don't think I can get a puller in there between that and the radiator. And then I actually have a tool that I used many years ago, which is an actual crank damper installation tool, so you don't have to beat it on with a hammer, and it is gonna stab the radiator. So at least I'm only using distilled water, so we're not wasting a lot of coolant. Better for the track too. But yeah, I think at some point, once I get the seat located where I want it and fixed in place, then the nose of this is going to have to come off again, and we will have to pull the crank damper and get that installed, which will assist me in doing my timing when it comes to the new distributor, assuming it shows up at some point. But again, I've had a couple of really interesting and good things happen over the last few days, but I am most excited about this thing apparently fixing my throttle position sensor, because that was really beginning to gnaw at me that I had a wiring issue, but it seems like that may be fixed, so I am ecstatic. Anyway, this will be a short one today, not too much going on, just piddling, so we'll get some bigger updates coming. Hope you're all having a good day. Talk to you all later. Take care.